Dear America, we hold these truths to be self-evident. Well, these truths America holds still need to be evident to self. That all men, as in human, are created equal. Penned by Thomas Jefferson from the July 4, 1776 Declaration of Independence, wherein the 13 states of the United States have been colonies of Great Britain. This declarational phrase was highly disregarded by this American nation because black people were still slaves until 1865, 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. So instead of changing and including us in the original, you decided to make change by excluding us and giving us our very own. Kind of like we can no longer take a stand by doing the Kaepernick knee.
Well, today I'm talking with Kyle Brautigam, who is also known as Spoken Servant. You know, I thank you so much for talking with me here today.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
You know, Kyle, you are a lot of things. So describe yourself to me.
You know, I'm a father. You know, I'm a husband. I'm a leader. I'm a world changer, and I'm also a poet as well.
And you came from a pretty large family.
I grew up with about 19 brothers and sisters. Man, it was cool. It was definitely different though, as well. Seeing that I was, you know, adopted into a family. There was people that were in my family there was white and there was black. But because I was adopted at a young age, it's kind of all I knew.
I read somewhere where you said you weren't even supposed to be alive. What do you mean?
So with that, I was actually born in Detroit. And when I was born in Detroit, my mom was into some things, you know, that wasn't necessarily good for her health. And, you know, she dealt with, you know, drugs and stuff like that. And I was actually a crack baby. I was 2 pounds, 4 ounces. I was supposed to be dead at birth. I was on life support. I practically lived in the hospital. And so, yeah. And so just with that, I shouldn't have been alive. I was a preemie, you know, and the doctors, ever since birth happened, I wasn't supposed to make it in life, period. And so I'm just glad to be here now.
When did you learn to express yourself, like through poetry, through rap?
Man, I remember I used to listen to Lil Wayne and you know, these other rappers, but their lyrics were just so intriguing to me because there was a lot of metaphors and similes and just different wordplay, and it was just so intriguing. I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. And for some reason, I already loved words in general. I just love using words in different ways and in certain ways to kind of help people see stuff differently.
You know, Kyle, I love the story that you told about Mrs. Johnson.
Yeah, I made a deal with her. I said, look, Miss Johnson, so we had a book we were reading called The Outsiders. And I'm just like, I don't even like reading. I don't want to read it. I'm good. Like, I need and she would always find me writing in class, you know, not focusing basically. But in that time, I'm like, man, like, I really don't want to do the project she's saying. Like, what if I come my own project? And so I went up and made a deal with her. I said, look, Ms. Johnson, for extra credit, do you think that if I write a rap on this book, do you think that I can, and not only write it, but perform it? Yeah. Do you think that I could, you know, get graded on that and you let me know what you think or whatever? And she said yes. And I was so happy because I enjoyed writing. I was like, oh yeah, now I really want to read. You know, I need to know what the book says. I need to know all this stuff. And so that was actually motivating for me to be able to do that because I was connected to something I was already passionate about. I kept doing it.
Yeah.
And that's when I knew, like, you know, nothing's going to stop me. Nothing's going to stop me. And I'm going to keep writing. I'm going to keep speaking because this is something I'm passionate about. Land of the free, home of the brave. White policemen continue to put our black men in the grave. Also, white men love to keep us enslaved. Doing free labor in the prisons where the system is systematic. Got you in 2020 feeling like a runaway slave. It's sad because we'll never be good enough. No matter how much we measure up, we can have all the degrees, be educated and all suited up with a fresh taper and a line up and still find ourselves in the back of the line not feeling good enough. See, the struggle is real growing up. We already had it rough. Being taught by our parents when you're confronted by the police, no matter what, don't act tough. We're taught not to retaliate, even though most times they are the ones who initiate and intimidate. Ready to...
Like you said, when you saw the knee in George Floyd's neck, something rose up in you. And tell me about that.
Man, on the emotional side, it was anger. It was, I can't, because of my own experiences, I can't stay silent no more. I saw myself. I was frustrated. I was hurt. It was almost like I died in that moment. You know, and I realized that those same people who are dying can't get back up to tell how they were feeling in that situation. So now we just have a one-sided conversation where you just heard from the person who's alive, but what about the person who is dead? And what makes it even more magnified is the fact that they were still innocent. So just being able to hear a story from an innocent perspective, the emotions and the feelings that they were going through, I felt like I needed to portray that. It just opened up so much for me, and it helped me uncover and discover, like, I need to advocate for Black people. I'll be that voice. Lord, use me. Like, use me. I'll be that voice. I don't care. Wherever you want me to go, I'll go. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of how that, I'm getting passionate now about it, because I just so much. Yeah, just so much. It's so much to say.
Your rap Speak Up, right, was born from that.
Basically, we have a responsibility, and not just as Black people, but as believers. Like, not even just Black people, but as believers. So that includes everybody who's a believer, you know, and understanding that Jesus and justice coincide, you know. And so the thing is, like, a lot of times we try to separate it or make it political, you know, but no, Jesus stood for justice. And then on top of that, my encouragement was to talk to white folks and say, hey, we've been speaking up all along. We've been talking, we've been speaking up, we've been doing this and that, but we need your help. We can't do without you, and just include it all, you know, mainly white folk, but then believers. That, look, it doesn't matter whether we're white, Black, whatever, we all need to speak up. America wants you to think it's through like old news. So let's educate ourselves instead of walking around like we have no clue. That's why I'm presenting evidential facts, not fiction, to help change your view. So don't compare your experience to ours and act as if racism isn't systemic, doesn't exist, or isn't true. And don't be quick to dismiss what you don't understand or haven't experienced yet. That's my challenge to you.
What did you perform at the Kalamazoo Poetry Festival?
I performed this poem called Home, and I didn't want to be surface with it, you know, because I could be like, oh, home is where a bed is and a house. Yeah. And I love trees, and, you know, I want a yard and my kids playing around. But I was like, man, what if I think about home? What is home really to me? So then I just began to ask God, like, God, help me with this. Like, and it's funny because in the middle of me preparing a poem, God was pulling stuff out of me that I didn't even know was in me. And so I was just like, you want me to talk about stuff I ain't even dealt with yet? Yeah, because you gonna deal with it in this poem. so yeah.
And can you do that?
Yes, I can do that. 3 months premature, I was birthed on this earth. My home should have been a place of love and acceptance. But without my mama's presence, home for me was a place of abandonment and rejection. Forced between the choices of extinction or adapting. Had to learn to live in the cold hospital I was in because it was the only place that would take me in. Taken away from my mama while she was dealing with drama. Cocaine running through her veins, which became her affliction. It was infused into my DNA. I was born fighting addiction. So there was me left alone with no mother and no home in a sterile hospital where I almost went flatline. They transitioned me to foster care where they gave me all my meals, man. They kept me alive. I was in the system until about 18 months on the timeline. Finally, in an adopted home with 19 brothers and sisters, the minority was white, but the majority of us were Black. It seemed so unfamiliar. People in the all-white town used to look at us so intently and peculiar. A lot of times they would look, question, and laugh. I felt like a chameleon forced to switch how I talk and how I act just to adapt. It made sense that I had a lot of sisters and brothers, but what was confusing, a lot of them were from different fathers and different mothers. And because my parents were white, it still felt foreign. Just wanted to feel accepted, not forced to fit in. Still was desiring those skin-to-skin hugs, that emotional connection. So then my next home became a piece of paper and a pen where I could write down every thought I was thinking, feeling, and imagining. Fast forward, had my own apartment, was feeling real grown until I realized it still didn't feel like home. I was still looking for a place of love and acceptance until one day I got saved and God blessed me with his presence, even though at the time my biological parents were still not present. You see, he opened up my heart and gave me eyes to see that he has always been there, and he promised to take care of me. He even blessed me with a wife and 2 children, my little special family. You see, I found a true home, which is only found in him. Peace, healing, joy, love, acceptance. It's all found in Jesus Christ. It's where I move, have on my being, and I learn to live life. So no matter how many homes we've all had in this life, I now know that it's only temporary. Jesus died so that we can realize there's a place that he has for us eternally. And then he rose again so that no matter how much you are rejected by the people of this world, and what the world may give, his doors are always open for you to find your home in him.
How do you even write something like that?
Sometimes it comes in pieces or sections. The rhythm is key to me. So actually, rap was actually helpful in my poetry, because rap, there was beats and a lot of beats and stuff I would just listen to, and I would just, and then I found myself making my own beats in my own mind. So as I go through the memorization process, a rhythm has to be key in a poem, a rhythm. And then for me, you don't always have to rhyme, but I rhyme because rhyming for me helps me memorize my poem.
Kyle, I just wanted to thank you so much for talking with me here today.
And thank you to you. You did an awesome job.
Thank you, Kyle. It's so much fun researching you. I can't even tell you. Yeah. You've had a wonderful life. I mean, talk about overcoming obstacles. You're an inspiration.
Amen. Well, praise God.
Praise God.
Dear America, we hold these truths to be self-evident. Well, these truths America holds still need to be evident to self, that all men, as in human, are created equal. Penned by Thomas Jefferson from the July 4, 1776 Declaration of Independence, wherein the 13 states of the United States have been colonies of Great Britain. This declarational phrase was highly disregarded by this American nation because Black people were still slaves until 1865, 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. So instead of changing and including us in the original, you decided to make change by excluding us and giving us our very own. Kind of like we can no longer take a stand by doing the Kaepernick kneel. But we should be thankful that we are now finally allowed to sing the Negro national anthem in sports as if we should be appeased, while we still have to work 3 times as hard for justice, twice as hard for our rights, and still pay a lifetime fee for freedom with one unarmed, innocent brown and Black man at a time killed or in the penitentiary. Now, I don't know about y'all, but that sounds like slavery to me in the 21st century. So within this Declaration of Independence, we were able to have independent government and be independent as states. But why was there still an independence of equality and race? Unless, of course, I'm considered in your eyes 3/5 of a human to compromise as if I'm not a whole person. Last time I checked, I live the way you live. I breathe the air you breathe. I still have all the same body parts and limbs. So now it boils down to the elephant in the room, which makes up a fraction of the difference, the color of our skin. Now, if one of y'all walk around here one more time talking about you don't see color or you're colorblind, I'm going to say it's because you can only see a fraction of the difference. And if you need proof, put your glasses on and adjust your lenses and allow them to backlash or flashback to George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and allow the full fraction of 2020 to uncloud your vision. So with the 3/5 Compromise, the Emancipation Proclamation, and the Declaration of Independence, we stand with Dr. King, crying out that equality is still not a thing. And we just want to make sure that you're convinced and hold you accountable to what was written back then. So allow me to remind you of the 15th Amendment and the Voting Rights Act of 1965. These are federal legislation which prohibit voting rights based on racial discrimination. So I wonder if in Georgia, do these legislations still apply when voting polls are being shut down and people are forced to wait in line while being denied a desire for food and water, which then became a crime? They say history repeats itself because this is happening in our time while America is still singing a national anthem like a sweet, sweet alibi. So America, today we celebrate Dr. King for being active in civil rights and voting laws, which was not minute. Today we all honor Dr. King and salute. Today we will all pay a great tribute to a civil rights activist, a job he shouldn't have had to do. America, we're celebrating Dr. King when really we could have been celebrating you. Sincerely, people of color, thank you.
Support for Kalamazoo Lively Arts is provided by the Irving S. Gilmore Foundation, helping to build and enrich the cultural life of Greater Kalamazoo.